I'm Mike. My wife, Lily, and I share a dream we want to achieve together. That dream is to own a guest house. It has been a common dream for us since we met. Lucky for me, you are also keen on having a guest house. I've always wanted to run one. Of course, it makes me so happy to strive towards the same dream as you, Mike. Lily is truly wonderful, and we started preparing for our guest house venture even before we got married. If we're serious about this, we need to start saving money from now, don't we? Yay, that's true. Let's start saving a bit from both of our salaries every month. We should also set up a savings account. That sounds great. I agree with that idea. Lily immediately agreed with my suggestion, and from the beginning of our relationship, we started saving diligently for our guest house. What kind of food should we serve once our guest house is up and running? I think ordinary dishes won't excite our guests, so how about we create something that has full of originality that we can offer? With that, we began to learn cooking. At first, we struggled to come up with anything satisfactory, and it was a process of trial and error. However, as we got the hang of it, brainstorming ideas for dishes became more enjoyable. Thus, we managed to get married while preparing to open our guest house. A little after our wedding, the opening of our guest house was drawing near. It's almost time for the opening. Yes, it is. Right. I'm thinking it might be good to bring in an advisor, just to make sure we can satisfy our guests once we open. An advisor. Jer, he's a good friend of mine and knows a lot about the hotel industry. That sounds good. I've been feeling like there might be room for improvement, so I think it's a good idea. Lily agreed, so I immediately contacted my friend, Alex. Alex was more than willing to discuss the guest house with us. Are these the exterior design and floor plans? Yes, they're still in the planning stage, and we haven't settled on a budget yet. I see. Alex came over right away and looked at the floor plans and conceptual photos of our guest house. What do you think? For a guest house of this size, the guest rooms might be a bit small. We should consider making them spacious but not too large, keeping them simple without being too plain. Is this an interior concept for the guest rooms? Yes. Based on what you've just said, we might need to rethink this part. Right. We should probably reconsider the guest room design once more. Alex's advice was precise and very informative. He pointed out things Lily and I hadn't noticed and highlighted areas where we hadn't paid enough attention. It made us realize that while it's important to create a comfortable working environment for us, we need to think more about the customers when operating the guest house. And so, Lily and I continued preparing for the guest house, and before we knew it, we were celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary. By the way, didn't you say you guys just celebrated your 5th anniversary? Yay, that's true. Having our regular one-on-one drinks with Alex, he suddenly asked such a question. Upon my confirmation, he smiled broadly. Then, this is for you as a celebration of your anniversary, and I think it could benefit your guest house. What Alex slowly pulled out was an invitation to a hotel dinner. What is this? I just wanted to congratulate you both. You've both been working so hard. It's the least I can do. The name of the hotel written on the invitation was one of the top luxury hotels. But this place is. Don't worry about it. I just want to support your efforts. I mentioned it's for the guest house, but enjoy yourselves. Encouraged by Alex, we decided to visit the luxury hotel, partly as an inspecting mission for our guest house's future. Wow, are you sure it's okay to be in such a luxury place? Standing in front of the luxury hotel, Lily sparkled her eyes like a protagonist of a girl's cartoon. Alex told us to enjoy it. For his sake too, we have to inspect properly and make our guest house a success. That's right. The visit to the luxury hotel seemed to boost Lily's motivation, and I felt truly relieved. And as we entered the luxury hotel, "Excuse me, sir?" "Yes." Before we could reach the front desk, we were stopped by someone who seemed to be the manager at the entrance. "What is it?" As Lily and I looked puzzled, the manager sized us up from head to toe, then snorted dismissively. "Do you think you belong in this hotel?" "Pardon? What do you mean by that? How rude." "Hey, Lily." I hurried to stop Lily as she seemed ready to confront the manager. But indeed, my judgment was not wrong. Poor people do bark a lot. "What? Excuse me, you're the manager of this hotel, right? Isn't that quite true to say? Even if you're not in a managerial position, don't you realize that's the lowest thing someone can say?" As I held Lily back and confronted the manager, he stepped back quietly, as if he wanted us to keep our distance. "Because I smell the sin of poverty on you. Do you even realize what you're saying?" "Enough, please leave. Having poor people around is a great inconvenience to our other noble guests. Lily, let's go." Raising my voice drew unwanted attention, and the stares from the onlookers were painful. Realizing there was no point in continuing the conversation, I urged Lily to leave, but she was trembling with anger next to me. "Lily, unforgivable, and you call yourself a manager of a reputable hotel? Please, keep your voice down. Other guests are getting disturbed." "I can't believe it. We'll sure to bring it down. Mike, let's go." After venting her frustration at the manager, she grabbed my hand and quickly left the luxury hotel. "I can't believe it. Hey, we should talk to Alex about this. He knows a lot about hotels, right? How can someone like him be a manager?" Her anger didn't seem to subside all the way home, and she remained upset. It's understandable why she was angry, and I think her anger prevented me from physically confronting the manager. Following her suggestion, we immediately told Alex everything that happened. "I see, so that's what happened." Alex awkwardly averted his gaze from us and apologized, seeming to feel guilty. He might have felt guilty since it was a luxury hotel he recommended. But it's not his fault. Alex isn't to blame, but I can't stand the thought of letting that manager off the hook. "Yeah, I know what you mean." As if struck by an idea, Alex suddenly exclaimed, "Ah! How about we show that hotel manager what we're made of?" "Huh? Let's open our guest house right away and start our business. If we can attract more guests and become more popular than that hotel, we'll have our revenge on the manager." "I agree." Before I could even respond, Lily jumped up, lively and in agreement. From then on, Lily, Alex, and I started to prepare for the opening of our guest house at a fast pace. Alex helped out quite often, and we were able to open a few months ahead of schedule. A month after making our resolution, we finally opened our guest house. We had promoted it on social media and distributed flyers, but on the opening day, not a single guest showed up. Maybe our advertising strategy was off. Lily sighed softly, looking at the ingredients we had prepared in anticipation of guests. "It's just the first day. People need to see what kind of service they can get and if it's worth their money, so they're cautious. But they won't know unless they come, right? Even though we announced a grand opening campaign. We can get discouraged on the first day. We have to stay positive. Remember, running a guest house was our dream." "Right. Yeah, let's keep our spirits up." Even though I reassured Lily, the fact that not a single guest came on the first day was quite disheartening for me too. Then, to our surprise, guests started pouring in the next day. The first guests arrived right at check-in time. "Welcome." "Oh, this is the place. What a charming guest house." "Thank you very much." Following that first guest, more and more started to arrive. Lily and I became incredibly busy, which was overwhelming but also a pleasant surprise. Even weeks after opening, the influx of guests didn't cease. "Welcome, we're glad you're here. This place has such a great atmosphere, really lovely." We're honored to hear that. Most of our guests were well-dressed, wearing expensive-looking clothes, suggesting they were of a high social status. We refrained from prying into our guests' private lives, but from overhearing their conversations, it was clear many were wealthy or owned businesses. It's amazing. Really. Maybe VIPs are spreading the word about our guest house. I wonder. I recalled a customer who came on the second day after we opened. Come to think of it, I believe he was wearing branded clothes. From that point on, our guest house continued to attract more guests and started to thrive. Around that time, someone barged into the guest house, flinging the door open with a loud noise. "Welcome." As I went to greet at the entrance, I found myself at a loss for words. The reason was that the person there was the hotel manager who had called us poor people. He seemed to have rushed over, judging by his heavy breathing. "You guys." Lily quickly joined me, and upon seeing the manager, she exclaimed, "Ah. So it was you poor people all along. What are you talking about? Why are you barging in like this? Our guests are flocking to your place. What did you do?" "Excuse me." Upon hearing the manager's explanation, it clicked for me. The guests who had been coming to our guest house lately were actually from that luxury hotel. "What are you here for?" "Lily, calm down." "But..." Hearing our argument, Alex then emerged from the back. Upon seeing Alex, the manager looked visibly embarrassed. "What's up with you? What are you doing here?" "Alex, what are you doing here?" "I'm helping out at their guest house. Haven't I told you? And it's none of your business, isn't it?" "It is my business. Our hotel's guests are being taken away. How can I just sit by?" "Alex, is he a friend of yours?" Though I hesitated to interrupt the palpable tension between the two, my curiosity got the best of me, and I asked Alex, who responded with a laugh, "It's my brother, Tyler." "What? Brother?" "That's right. But this person is from that luxury hotel." "Yay, I know. I thought the same when you told me about it, that he's still up to his sneaky tricks." "Sneaky tricks? What's wrong with choosing guests suitable for our hotel?" "I'm saying you have no eye for it." "What?" "It's because of your lack of discernment that guests are being taken away by their guest house. Don't you get it yet?" Even to those of us who were unaware of the full situation, it was clear that there was some sort of conflict between the two. "The problem is with you, Alex. Just because you're the eldest, you took for granted that you'd inherit that hotel. When have I ever taken anything for granted? You're the one who did wrong, and then you pinned it all on me, telling Mom and Dad it was my fault." From their conversation, it appeared that Alex was originally supposed to be the hotel manager. However, the current manager, his brother Tyler, wasn't pleased with this and would purposely turn away guests by calling them poor and sending them away, leading to complaints that he blamed on Alex. Upon hearing this, their parents were naturally furious and pushed Alex away from the family. As a result, Tyler ended up securing the position of manager for himself. "I'm utterly ashamed and disgusted by you as a brother. Do you have any idea how uncomfortable you made our guests feel? Have you ever considered the feelings of those guests you involved for your own greed? I don't care about guests who won't come back to the hotel." "Really?" "Wait, could it be, Alex?" "Mike, you're quite perceptive." As I was about to say something, Alex smiled cheerfully. Yes, Alex had been directing those guests he drove away to our guest house. More precisely, Alex had personally apologized to all the guests who had been made uncomfortable by Tyler and invited them to our guest house. Everyone I invited was really nice. Alex was right. All the guests who have visited our guest house so far have been very gentle, and they have been very satisfied with our service and the atmosphere of the guest house, leaving happily. Furthermore, some even gave us tips on top of the accommodation fee. Thank you, I'm very satisfied with the wonderful service. Here's a little something. I had a very comfortable stay. Thank you, I'll come again. Please accept this as well. Recalling the kind and friendly guests, I was dumbfounded to think that Tyler had turned away such people, just like he did to us. You really have no eye for people, which is pitiful. Damn it, why is it always you? What did I do wrong? I did what I thought was right. What's wrong with acting for my own sake? You haven't learned your lesson at all. Well, that's enough talk. You tried to set me up, so it's only fair you receive this kind of treatment. Then, Alex took out his phone from his pocket and spoke to someone on the phone. Did you hear all that? Judging from his actions, he must have been connected the entire time. Who are you calling? Dad. On Alex's phone screen was the name Dad, and it was set to speaker mode. What, Dad? After his initial shock, Tyler's face drained of color. Hey, I heard everything. Dad, it's not what it seems. What do you mean it's not what it seems? You're disowned. Don't ever come back. Dad, please, don't do this. How am I supposed to live if I leave home? Despite Tyler's tearful pleas on the phone screen, his father seemed completely unresponsive to his cries, now that his misdeeds were laid bare. Well, that should do it. Thanks for listening, Dad. Good luck with running the hotel. Hey, Alex, don't you want to come back? The voice that had been stern with Tyler softened considerably when addressing Alex. Why would I? We need your help, Alex. We were wrong. Your mother feels the same way. Yes, Alex, I'm sorry we didn't believe in you. Please, would you consider coming back? No, I have a place where I belong now. Alex said that, then glanced at Lily and me. I realized that the special place Alex was talking about referred to this guest house we run together. And, after being treated like an outsider and not being trusted all this time, don't you think it's a bit too convenient to ask me back now? We are reflecting on that. Your father feels the same way. It doesn't matter how much you apologize, that's all. The conversation on the other end of the phone seemed to cut off as Alex ended the call unilaterally. Alex, are you sure about this? Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I might have said I'm not coming back in the heat of the moment, but can I continue to help out with the guest house? Lily and I exchanged smiles at his words. Of course, you've always been a part of this from the very beginning. This place was built by the three of us. Thank you. From then on, the three of us joined forces to run the guest house. With Alex's extensive experience and knowledge from the hotel industry, our business continued to grow and flourish. This is your name, isn't it? Samantha said, pointing her finger. I followed the direction of her finger and looked down. I felt a jolt of unpleasant sweat breaking out. There, reflected, was my younger face and name. My name is Steven. I'm in my 40s, working in the product development department of a food manufacturer. However, for several years now, I've become what you might call a sidelined employee. It's not that I'm not assigned any work, but I hardly ever get anything of responsibility. I'm not really close with anyone in my department either, so no one comes to chat unless it's for work-related matters. But at this age, without any special qualifications as a high school graduate, I've resigned myself to this position, albeit feeling a sense of emptiness. A little change came when there was a personal transfer at the fiscal year change, bringing new talent into our workplace. My name is Samantha. I was in the sales department until last fiscal year, but I've always loved eating and cooking, so I'm thrilled to be here. I look forward to working with you all." She seemed to be in her early 30s. Energetic and beautiful. She had the appearance and aura of someone capable at her job. I was just an ordinary employee, but she came in as a chief and seemed to become my supervisor. Having a younger boss didn't really change anything. I was still at the bottom of the pecking order. It's difficult for me to communicate, and it's unlikely that someone with bright prospects would want to get involved with me. That's what I thought as I absent-mindedly watched Samantha introducing herself along with the transfer orders. But when we actually started working, perhaps due to her background in sales, she had a good approach, treated me equally without discrimination, and assigned me tasks. Even though I was an outlier. "Stephen, could you please make the adjustments to this project as decided in the meeting?" "Sure, I'll take care of it." "Thank you, I appreciate it." "Is there something?" "Oh, just thank you in advance." However, there was something that concerned me. Not always, but I felt like Samantha was intently observing my face, my demeanor. As if she wanted to say something, or confirm something. Am I finally going to be fired for being a salary thief? I've tried not to cause any problems, but... well, it's already a problem, isn't it? After all, Samantha is an excellent person. She might be thinking of reporting me as a cost-cutting measure, considering me an incompetent employee, and cutting my employment. Well, but it can't be helped. Resignedly abandoning my thoughts, I started on the valuable task I had been entrusted with. A few days later, there was an announcement about a product idea contest within the company, open to all departments. The goal was to gather frank opinions combining the strengths of each department to come up with good plans. Of course, our department was also going to participate. After all, it's our job to work out the details of the product after the planning phase. Let's give it our all for this project. For starters, I've bought hamburgers from a famous store. Eat to your heart's content and use it as inspiration. Yay! Thank you. Everyone, please fill out a questionnaire about your thoughts on this hamburgers and your ideas. Let's do our best. For our first meeting, which also served as lunch, we got to eat hamburgers from a well-known store, thanks to our boss's arrangement. It really is different. So delicious. No, this isn't it. This isn't all that impressive. It's not bad, but there's definitely a difference in taste compared to hamburgers from a famous store. I looked around, but it seemed like my colleagues didn't sense anything of the sort. I wondered if there was something wrong with my taste, but I do have knowledge and experience with food and ingredients. I trusted my own palate. With the questionnaire, I could submit my opinion without having to announce it in front of everyone. Being honest might be the better approach. Opportunities like this are rare for someone in their 40s who was mid-career hired like me. It might be better for my evaluation to honestly write that it felt different. If it's Samantha, she might have been watching me. Deciding to go through with it, I quietly filled out the questionnaire amidst my noisy colleagues. The following week, while I was slowly progressing through my work, a notification from the internal chat system flashed. It was from Samantha. She wanted to talk about the questionnaire and asked me to come to a separate room in the afternoon, according to the business email. I nervously sent a confirmation reply and headed to the designated meeting room at the specified time. When I knocked and opened the door, Samantha was already sitting there, waiting. "Please, have a seat here." Yes. I took a seat as directed. After a few seconds of silence, Samantha showed me a clear file. Inside it was a questionnaire I had filled out. Was there a problem? No, there wasn't. I'm sorry, I was testing you. I hadn't been sure until now, so I didn't say anything, but I think I know who you really are. My real identity. Weren't you previously a head chef at a restaurant in a hotel in New York, French cuisine, right? You must be mistaken. This is your name, isn't it? Cutting off my words, Samantha said that. Then, from behind a questionnaire in the clear file, Samantha pulled out a copy of a page from some newspaper or magazine. I felt a sudden surge of uncomfortable sweat. It was an article from many years ago, a small piece about a restaurant. There, a younger me was featured with my name included. You found quite an old piece, didn't you? I had been a chef specializing in French cuisine in my previous job. After graduating high school, I immediately went to France to train in the culinary arts. While attending a culinary school was an option, I wanted to learn in the homeland of cuisine as soon as possible. Having honed my skills in France and with connections from the owner of my training location, I was able to get involved in various roles at a famous hotel restaurant upon returning to America. As a chef of modern French cuisine aimed at locals while also being authentic, I think I achieved a certain level of success. I wasn't a celebrity, and it's not a world where people would be eager to know, so I'm not sure if I could be called famous. But I do remember being featured in magazines and on TV. I also remember those articles and TV programs praising me a lot. So it is you, isn't it? This? Yes. With such skills and having achieved success at a young age, why did you quit and come to this company? It's a strange question, but surely you'd have more status, fame, and money, and it'd be more enjoyable than the work you're doing here, right? Do you want to hear it? I might not be able to explain it well, but... Samantha seemed slightly shaken for a moment, but then she nodded. This is my perspective, my story. You don't have to believe it, but... I started to recount. Back when I was working at the restaurant, being promoted to head chef, I was ecstatic. I vowed to work even harder, inspiring my team, striving every day. But working day in, day out, there was this sous chef named Richard, who seemed to have something against me. He was older than me and had come into this field after graduating from university. He often mocked me for diving straight into this career after high school. There are such people, aren't there? But it's true that I only graduated high school, and there's a gap between me and those who worked hard to pass exams, went to university, and studied further. It was unpleasant being belittled, though. I tried to keep the conversation light. But Samantha looked solemn, making me doubt if I managed to keep the tone upbeat. Anyway, it would have been fine if it ended there, but maybe because I didn't pay him much attention, he took a different approach. Behind my back, he spread false rumors among the employees about me. Unfounded rumors like I was two-timing my girlfriend and left her pregnant, or that I was evading debts or embezzling funds from the restaurant. Although these were baseless, it seemed like the staff believed them. Samantha was speechless. It was rare to see her, always calm and rational, looking pale. As I spoke, I observed her and thought, so she can make such expressions too. Because of that, everyone turned against me. Richard was respected for his skills, and looking back, it's understandable. I might have been too desperate, failing to communicate with the staff properly. I didn't realize it, but that undercurrent was there every day until it finally exploded. I paused for a moment. It wasn't something I wanted to remember, but I wanted to tell it properly. After calming myself a bit, I detailed the sequence of events that day to Samantha. On the day of a private dining event for a company, eager for the important event, I entered the kitchen to find it empty. No one was there, from the staff to the part-timers. Normally, a few would be there before me, preparing or learning. But no one came, no matter how long I waited. It turned out that the staff, believing Richard's words, had collectively boycotted. I tried desperately to contact them, but no one, from the part-timers to the full-time employees, answered their phones or emails. But time was ticking away. with no preparations. I wasn't sure if I could manage the meals for all the guests alone. That's just irresponsible. It showed how much they believed I was a terrible person. They weren't bad people themselves. I hadn't talked much about this before. Not talking meant there were no third-party opinions, whether in defense or criticism. Maybe that's why, hearing Samantha getting angry on my behalf, I felt a bit relieved. Anyway, I failed to deliver the meals on that important day and was abandoned by the staff. I was crushed. I thought it was impossible to continue. That's why I quit that job and gave up my career as a chef. Despite being confident in my hard work, this was the result. I fell into mistrust of people and depression. It was then. There was a regular customer who remembered my face and name and was kind to me. This person said, "I like the food you make with so much effort. If you're looking for a place, why don't you work with us? In any way, I want to eat your cooking," and offered me a lifeline. That was the company's president at the time, Mr. Thompson. Having no experience in corporate life, I initially declined, but Mr. Thompson left the decision open, saying, "I'm not asking for an immediate answer. Contact me once you've made up your mind. I'll be waiting whenever you're ready." Eventually, needing work and deciding not to continue as a chef, I gratefully accepted the offer. That was almost 10 years ago. But I was naive. Still distrustful of people, I couldn't fully trust my colleagues. I was always somewhat afraid of people's voices. Unfamiliar with ordinary corporate life, I became isolated. Unable to fit in, I couldn't speak up or fully utilize my skills in the product development department, struggling to commit seriously up to this point. That's what happened. I ended up telling you about how I was picked up by the company. Well, there might have been faults on my part too, and this might sound like an excuse. So, that's what happened. I shouldn't have asked so casually. I'm sorry. I don't think you're in the wrong. When Samantha heard the story, she looked down, but I quickly got her to raise her face. It's an old story, and I've recovered enough to be able to talk about it. But for Samantha, that wasn't the end of it. But if I hadn't heard it, I might not have been able to handle it. About this project. Project? What does my story have to do with the project? It does. The main issue in your story. A person named Richard. He is now the head chef at your previous restaurant. I heard from a former colleague in the sales department that Richard will be supervising this project for connections from the sales department. My heart contracts unpleasantly. My spine turns cold. I still harbor something akin to trauma. But your palate hasn't faded. You're not losing in skills or experience. It might be tough, but please, join this project and lend us your strength. Samantha was desperate. She had always been calm, but this was a face I had never seen before. But she quickly composed herself and pleaded, "Please, I'm begging you. Why would you go that far? That job was years ago. I think I've eaten your cooking with my parents. It was the first French restaurant they took me to. My parents loved France and went there often for their honeymoon and other trips. It's a taste of family memories. I remember how delicious it was and how it made us smile. It would be a waste to let it decline here. I feel the same as Mr. Thompson. I want to eat your cooking again." Samantha looked up and gazed directly at me. It wasn't just any French cuisine. It was authentic and made thoughtfully for people, even for someone like me trying it for the first time. I want many others to know about it. Samantha. Someone likes my cooking. That was something I hadn't heard since my days as a chef. And with that, my old feelings resurfaced. Customers who ate and praised the food. Customers who thanked me. Customers who said they wanted to come back. There are people who believe in me. I might be able to trust this person too. I understand. I'll do my best to meet your expectations. Yes. No excuses needed. I'll put my all into making someone happy with my cooking. With that resolution, I changed my attitude and threw myself into the internal project contest from that day. And I changed. People are still scary, and so are my colleagues. But because I wanted to try hard, I actively took on work. I started to speak my opinions clearly. It was rare for me to lead meetings or present, but I made sure to do it confidently. "Stephen, you've changed, for the better." "Is that so?" "You look more lively than before. I didn't know you could work like this." "Isn't that a bit rude?" "See, you can even say things like that now. You've changed, you've changed." I started to communicate with my colleagues more. I researched to create product samples. Even after going home, I studied dishes for the product, bought ingredients, and ate them as meals every time. I distributed notes of what I tried to my department and received opinions. "This is tastier than yesterday." "Yeah, but I might prefer a stronger flavor." But it's a hamburger project, right? If we're also focusing on health." Samantha's and my seriousness seemed to spread throughout the department. Gradually, my colleagues and superiors became more invested, and before we knew it, the department was fully committed to the project. Even though I hadn't been serious about cooking lately, I started to remember how fun it was to cook like I used to. I never knew work could be this fun. It felt like my skills were finally being fully utilized and growing significantly. So that's what's happening in the development department. Yes. You want to win this project, don't you? Yes, of course. Then do as I say. Everything, exactly as I say. Yes. I was just working hard, unaware of the dubious dealings in the sales department. On the day of the contest, the only projects left for the presentation were ours and one from the sales department. "Excuse me." As I entered the room, the first thing I saw was Richard, who had aged a bit. I felt a chill down my spine and had trouble breathing for a moment, but then Samantha and my colleagues came in and pushed me to my seat. "Stay calm, we're with you. You've worked hard to get here. No need to be so nervous. Let's take it easy." "Thank you." And then the presentation began. Theirs was first. Typical of the sales department, their presentation was flashy, with impressive photos and explanations. Richard supervised a presentation of luxurious dishes. It was an overwhelming presentation, but I wasn't alone. It wasn't just about luxury. We have done everything we could. Then it was our turn. "Thank you for this opportunity. The theme of our project is convenient, delicious, and healthy." We had practiced the presentation a lot. Samantha helped me revise the materials to make them more appealing, and we came up with unique ideas from the development department. I worried my mind might go blank, but the presentation went smoothly. We handed out samples, and it was over. The room erupted in applause, and it was time for questions. I answered various questions, but then the issue came up. "Stephen, that was a good presentation, very promising, but I heard that during your previous job as a chef, you irresponsibly missed an important dinner, leaving Richard and the staff to clean up the mess. Is that true? If it is, it's hard to trust you and your presentation." The room stirred. I felt a cold sensation running down my spine again. Richard was smirking. He must be lying as easily as breathing, just like before. Was history repeating itself? I take a breath, ignoring the loud thumping of my heart, and speak calmly. "I'm not alone. It's true that there was a time I couldn't provide a dinner service, but it wasn't because I simply didn't show up. I took it upon myself to handle the situation that day. I was the only one able to come to work, and I determined that I couldn't manage both cooking and serving in time, so I apologized to the client and directed them to a comparable restaurant. It was everyone else who didn't show up for work, not me. It might be impolite to contact a client from that day, but I remember who it was, so I can provide the name later for you to verify. Everyone else but you. Damn. Samantha and my colleagues backed me up. Yes, he always takes his cooking and customers seriously. Stephen wouldn't do such a thing. I vouch for him. One of the judges looked bewildered, glancing between Richard and me. Then, seeing the other judges silent, he backed down. I see. And then it was time for the decision. The results were in. All 5 judges voted for our idea, and our project won. We did it. All right, all right, all right. We were chosen. We won. We really worked hard, all of us. My colleagues erupted into high fives with Samantha and me. It was a bit embarrassing, but we couldn't hide our joy and praised each other. However, Richard wasn't pleased. Perhaps he felt his pride was hurt. Suddenly, Richard started making a loud fuss. This is rigged. That's not true. Yes, it is. I come here in the midst of my regular job, and I was just used. This is utterly unpleasant. Richard crossed his arms and fidgeted, seemingly growing more agitated. The atmosphere in the room grew tense. Then, a firm voice filled the room, commanding silence. Be quiet. You're embarrassing yourself. Do you think you're so important to complain about a unanimous decision? I believe I'm more significant than that resigned chef. Is that why you've always been comfortable with lying? I know that you spread lies about Stephen, forcing him to resign. It was only because Stephen didn't want to pursue the matter that you weren't investigated, but I consider what you did nearly criminal. I couldn't believe my ears. I hadn't noticed until now. Mr. Thompson. Richard was asking a guy sitting next to him who the man was, and the guy taught him that the man was the chairman of this company. Chairman, you never mentioned that. This person was the former president of the company. He was the regular customer who had once taken me in. I didn't recognize him immediately because of his different attire, my nerves, and the overwhelming memories, along with his slightly aged face. I was looking forward to eating Stephen's cooking again. I didn't want to make you nervous, so I came incognito. The current president, my son, isn't here. The hamburgers was delicious. Mr. Thompson turned his wrinkled face towards me and smiled. Behind him, Richard's face gradually turned pale and stiffened. He was someone who cared about his social status, so he must have been terrified by his current blunder. I still go to the restaurant, you know. It's a connection from the previous owner. Stephen would have definitely remembered. He remembered all the regulars like me, every one of us, but you didn't remember. No, you probably don't remember any of your customers' faces. You're not really engaging with your customers at all. Sure, your food is delicious, but that's all there is to it. I don't see any effort made specifically for the customers. That's why it lacks charm. Mr. Thompson slowly approached Richard. Despite being shorter and having a gentler demeanor, Richard stepped back. We've never properly talked, so I was somewhat hopeful. But from now on, I won't ask you to supervise our products. It'd be troubling if our customers started avoiding us. Richard turned pale and looked down, unable to say anything. Then, Mr. Thompson faced me. I'm really glad I could taste your cooking again. Please continue to showcase your skills. Mr. Thompson, thank you, but this wasn't just my doing. It was made passable by Samantha, my colleagues, and everyone in the department through various trials and discussions. So, it's thanks to everyone. I said proudly. Looking back, Samantha and the others were smiling warmly. Our project became an unprecedented hit for the company, and we received praise from the higher-ups. Then, a direct offer from Mr. Thompson came. How about running a restaurant as a company's flagship shop? I'm glad to see you vibrant again. I'd like you to be the chef. Will you do it, Stephen? I was a bit nervous. Could I walk down that path again after a failure? But everyone in the department supported me. Right, I'm not alone. So, I happily accepted the offer. We rented the first floor of a building near the headquarters, and the restaurant successfully had its pre-opening. Of course, I invited Mr. Thompson and everyone from the product development department. Seeing me in my chef's attire instead of a suit, everyone greeted me with cheers. As I served a variety of warm dishes, everyone enjoyed their meal with relish. It really suits you better, this look. I think it's quite cool. Thank you. Actually, I had a magazine clipping of you from back then. I was a fan. It's surprising to see you like this again. You seem more distinguished now, and it suits you even better. A fan, really? Oh. Whether Samantha's blush was from the wine or something else was unclear. The atmosphere turned a bit strange, but my department colleagues were there to watch over and keep the spirits high. Mr. Thompson also watched me while eating my cooking with a kind face. It seems happiness doesn't peak here. There's still more to come.